But you had clearly learned stuff from them, because for me, like when we started working together, the stuff that I was having to teach, I just could see that you needed to learn was when you see me grab a hold, you take the attention. Don't be doing that like when I'm working.
Sure.
Things like that. That at that point in Gary and Anthony's careers, they were still pretty young coming into the business. I had fortunately been to all those places and had been taught that stuff myself. And there were things that I didn't have to explain to you. Okay, when I'm taking a rest hold or whatever, you understood all that. Like, you already had that base there.
Well, working.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Working.
So those things, like, I guess what you can call it, the sort of foundational basics that you had learned working with the 11 months with the pit bulls.
Right.
So I didn't need to slow down to say, this is what a high spot is, or this is what whatever. That stuff you already had.
Yeah.
And I think at that point forward, like once we got comfortable just working with each other, it then became each of us at the same time pushing like where our character's going to be. Is it going to be here, 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 here? Will this character do this or not do that? And for those first couple months we were together, the chemistry was obviously on camera. But when I go back and I watch that stuff now, we're at a signing and somebody has the loop playing or whatever, and I'll watch it, and it's way in the back of my head, but I'll see you do something and go, I didn't notice that before. You know, like walking, like the one time you were standing with your back between hard cam and we were in the middle of the ring. Mm-hmm. And just as I started thinking, she's blocking the shot, you like looked over your shoulder at one, I forget which way you looked, and you sort of like this, you didn't like split over, you sort of melted down out of the way.
I shimmied.
Shimmy-shade. She sashayed out of the way. And those types of things that now I don't have to think about making sure I comment that to you. Now we can talk about some other stuff up here. Yeah. And it just became really comfortable in that dynamic.
Yeah, like at that point it was like I was trying to teach myself, okay, where's the hard camera? Mm-hmm. Where's the handheld? You know, working off of your promos, mm-hmm. reacting to what you said, sure. reacting to what the crowd said.
Yeah, which is not easy. For somebody that thinks that like we're just sitting back there making faces, if you're not listening to the words and what's being said, it sort of looks like almost like puppetry.
Yeah, because you could react at the wrong moment, and people are like, "What the hell is she thinking in her head?" Like nobody said anything, or one of those things, you know. So I always especially when I was paired with you, it's like you need to learn reactions, facial expressions, but you need to sell it to the people. It was always like, if you take a bump, never take a bump with your face covered. You want your face up in the air because you want them to see your pain.
Steamboat taught me that. That's a Steamboat thing.
But I've watched so many people like this, and I'm just like, okay, they know you're in pain, but don't you want that expression to be shown? So I always try to make it a point to put my head up or make them see my face.
Get the hair out of your face.
Yeah, like little things like that. And just like with Gary and Anthony, I wasn't taught that kind of stuff. It was me being at ringside. And in my head, what's common sense at this point? Yeah. If those two guys, one of them's my boyfriend, how am I going to react to him? Not that they were my boyfriend, I'm just saying, if I was somebody's girlfriend, how would I react to somebody hitting them with a sledgehammer or putting a chain around their neck? You have to show emotion. You have to show some kind of sympathy. Or if you're a heel, you have to show like a mean side to you. So I'm just like, okay, now I'm an actress. Mm-hmm. I consider myself an actress.
Sure. Yeah.
What would I do? And that was my mind frame, mm-hmm. But then with you and I together and the roles that we played, it became so easy. Yeah. And it was organic, and it wasn't like we had to try. Yeah. Because 9 times out of 10, we didn't even plan what we were doing.
No. And again, for me, where I was starting to see the early stages in the other promotions that I'd worked for, where the guys would say, let's set up this really long spot, or let's do this real elaborate finish that's really half the match. And I was never taught that way. I could never go out there and play the character that I was supposed to be, trying to remember 75 moves or whatever. So the fact that I could sense that coming from you, like where you would be we're facing a hard cam, say. And if you're behind me, I can't keep looking back to see where Francine is, right? I'm playing to the camera and focusing my attention on my opponent. And I would see you a couple times. You'd be gone. I'd like just glance around, but then I would see you in short order, to sort of melt into the into my frame.
Yeah.
So okay, there she is. I got her. And that for me was, because again, not that I couldn't have taught those things, but I think where we had become that object that Paul wanted us to be. In order to pull that off convincingly, that we had to, and we're going to get to the big thing here in a second, that's going to probably disappoint a lot of you out there. But now I can now focus on explaining to you, like, okay, if you trip him, don't just be waiting there and trip him, right? Like, make it a sort of, I'm sure you heard me telling you a million times, look like you're doing something when you're doing nothing. Right.
I think a great example of that, I thought about this the other day, and I have to find it somewhere because it was a really good spot, is when we had, I think it was Gary, and I loosened the the ropes and the turnbuckle, and I remember you said, when you loosen them, do it fast, but when you're tightening them, do it slow. Yes. Yeah, and I remember going,
yeah, it was great.
You know, and I thought about that the other day, and I just started laughing to myself, and I said, I have to find that tape somewhere, because that's one of the things I never forget.
That was the first match after Back with the Broken Neck.
Yeah. And we put him between the,
And he caught his head like Mick Foley would do, catch his head.
But it was just the expression, and it just, I don't know, it just made me chuckle.
So the whole thing. That we always get asked. She told me recently asked how your husband's doing, and she's wondering like,
how's your husband? And I go, he's great. Oh, really? Is he still wrestling? And I go, say what? Is he still wrestling? I go, who's my husband? They go, franchise Shanedouglas. I go, really? Did I marry him? People still to this day think you and I are married.
And I have told, because her husband's a great guy, and we were professional, right? Yeah. But we had to evoke something that we were told from Paul.
No, we weren't told. You were told.
Oh, well, I didn't know that Paul had told me. I hadn't told you. Honestly, I did not know that. But I remember him talking, I thought it was us sitting there, that it could not hit the sheets, that the boys couldn't be smartened up because they would hit the sheets. And you and Beulah were always rooming together.
Yeah, and it was funny because we roomed together, and we were at like the Travel Lodge, I think, one time, and we went to get on and nobody was around, and we went to get on the elevator. We thought the coast was clear, and all these fans come on. Yeah. So I go, you stupid bitch, right? And I got in the corner, and I was
Catfight.
And then we both got off at the same floor, but we went, and if you went that way, you bump into the wall, and then you see her go this way. It's just so funny.
Yeah, and Paul had mentioned that to me, and I only stayed there like once or twice.
Yeah.
Not many, but fans would be coming up to me, like going down to the bar, and they'd say, "Oh, Francine's up in Bill's room or whatever," and I'm like, "Oh."
Great.
And that's when Paul said that's got to be done a different way, and we weren't allowed to smart the boys up in the company. It was, but our friend sitting over there, that's the actor, the big ugly guy over there. The fact that we were able to pull it off, that people still ask me that 30 years later, nearly 30 years, and I will get questions all the time. Less now, but 2, 3, 4, 5 times a year, and people are always shocked to hear that we weren't involved at that time.
Yeah.
It's we've obviously talked about this a million times. It wasn't that there was no attraction there. It wasn't any of that. To me, you were my coworker, and I'm not going to go and do things with the coworker. Plus, I was married.
You were married.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the biggest blockage, is that you had a wife.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to. I didn't want to cross that line or anything, because I respected your marriage, because you respected your marriage.
But that made it so much more comfortable to be able to go out there and carry on that characterization that we would play with it to the point. I don't know if you've ever gotten this, but I was getting heat from Candido, Bigelow, Taz, Perry Saturn. Just really because they had bought into it. They knew you were staying in the same hotel where I was staying, and those things that to them, as wrestlers in the business, how many boys they see do this, go on the road and sleep around with their wives and everything. But again, there's 2 points to that, to me anyway. It made that team so iconic because the chemistry was there, and the chemistry was there not because we were making it up as we went along, but because we were not having all this funk in between of, we are, I got a kayfabe and I'm home, or there was none of that. And that made it so much less disarming to me to be able to go out and carry that off. But I think it also, in the way it presented on camera, for somebody that had been in the business as short as you had been in the business at that point, if you had put me, say, with Ric Flair or Harley Race or Bruno Sammartino, less than a year in the business with a 30-second revolving door being actually trained. If you'd have put me at that point with the world champion, I'm not so certain I could have played that role well because I didn't know what the hell I was doing at that point. And you had done it so well, so it looked effortless and so legit how you would play off of that stuff that would make it easy for me then to play off of what you were doing. And all these years later, the fact it's about midnight right now, recording this. We've been sitting at the Square Circle Expo in Indianapolis all day, me, her, and Hack, and we literally laughed our asses off all day. My stomach and my face hurt right now because of laughing all day. And I think it's what allows us to do that now, that there isn't this sort of like, hey, Franny, how you it made it really awkward. But again, like watching that playoff on camera, to me, I know what we're doing and what we're not doing.
Right.
But it looks so believable. It hooks you on when you're watching it.
But now you have to picture yourself in, like, as a young girl in the business, being put into that predicament. I have the whole locker room thinking it's not funny.
No,
and when you laugh, I want to choke you. It's not a funny thing. And there's going to be people in the comments go, you both are bullshitting. You know you're liars. Well, guess what? We're not. It never happened. It bothered me because I didn't want my colleagues to think, oh, look at her sleeping with him and he's married. And then I go and I stay at your house when we're in Pittsburgh. It's like
my wife and I.
Exactly. It's like, what the hell? Am I crazy? Ex-wife. But you know what I'm saying? Like for me, it was very uncomfortable to have guys like Taz and here she comes. Looking at me like I hated it.
No, I understand that. Again, that's the youthful thing in the business, right? You were still at that point fairly new in the business
and very young,
and not like by that stage of my career, I didn't give a rat's ass what anybody thought. Right? It's in out.
But being a girl in the business. I didn't want to be looked at as a rat. I was working at this point. I'm working my ass off, and I'm trying to gain respect.
Right.
And then Paul saying, "Oh well, you guys got to be on the down low," and blah. And then going into a 7-Eleven and having Shane buy a Magnum condom in front of Paul Heyman, and then he gets in the car and he throws it at me, and I go, "Really, a Magnum? Is that what you think of yourself?" I am not a liar. You know it happened. It's true. And Paul was like, I'm just like sitting there like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That's not, that was the part that I hated.
But it was better than be going to buy like a little balloon or something, one of the little string balloons.
I don't know what you look like down there. I don't need to know. I thought it was an over-exaggeration with the Magnum, to tell you the truth. But the point was, you did it on purpose so Paul would see you. Bullshit. So anyway, that was the part I hated.
So now we got that 9,000.
Yeah, now that's taken out. Yeah, sure.
So